Grief has an expiration date, yours already passed. That's what the silence around you suggests. The sympathy cards stopped coming, the questions dried up, the world kept moving, as it always does, and somewhere in that movement, an expectation settled in like sediment. You should be over it by now, you're not. The worst part isn't the loss itself. The worst part is that you've started apologizing for still carrying it. You wear the grief in smaller spaces. You mention it less. You perform a version of okay that costs you something every single day. In 1960, C.S. Lewis had already written entire books on the meaning of suffering, theory, architecture, argument. He had explained pain to millions of readers. Then his wife, Joy, died. And the first line he wrote in his grief journal was not a theory, it was this: "No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear." All the words, all the architecture, not enough, not even close. The expiration date came and went, and you're still here carrying something the world has no more patience for. So is something else. There is an animal that has been mourning its dead for longer than humans have had a word for mourning. The African elephant, Loxodonta africana, has walked this earth for nearly 5 million years. Its brain, the largest of any land animal, was built not only for navigation and memory, but for relationship, for recognition, for the kind of knowing that outlasts the body it once knew. Since 1972, researcher Cynthia Moss has documented behavior in the Amboseli ecosystem in Kenya that science struggled to categorize. Elephants return to the bones of their dead, sometimes years, sometimes decades after the death. They move their trunks slowly across each bone. They pause. They stand. The matriarch guides the younger ones toward the site. The young ones watch. They do not run from where death happened. They go back. No survival calculation explains this. No energy equation justifies the hours spent beside what can no longer respond. Something else is happening. Something that looks less like instinct and more like fidelity. What does the elephant know about grief that you have been told to move past? Lesson 1. The return. When an elephant encounters the remains of a family member, the trunk, capable of detecting scent from over a mile away, moves deliberately across every bone. This is not mourning as performance. This is mourning as an act of presence. You have been handed a model of grief as a tunnel. You enter at loss, you move through stages, you exit healed. The elephant suggests a different architecture, grief as a place you return to, not escape from. A relationship that changes form but doesn't end. You do not heal by explaining your loss faster than your heart can touch it. The thing you refuse to touch does not vanish. It waits. The question is not when you will stop going back. The question is what you bring with you when you do. Lesson 2. The matriarch's map. The oldest female leads the herd. Not because she is the strongest, not because she is the fastest. She leads because she has lost the most and survived it. Inside her is a map of decades, water sources that dried up, paths where calves did not return, seasons that almost broke the herd. Her grief is not a wound she carries. It is wisdom, in a form that cannot be taught any other way. Research from Amboseli confirms it. Herds led by matriarchs over 55 years old make significantly better decisions during drought and predator threat. The ones who had grieved the deepest led the most accurately. Seneca had written philosophy on time and loss for decades when he buried his own child. In Epistle 63, writing to his friend Lucilius about the death of someone they both loved, he landed on something precise. We must weep, but we must not wail. Not numbness, not collapse, something harder, the grief that stays without consuming. The matriarch knew this before the sentence existed. You think memory is the thing keeping you trapped, but memory is also the thing that teaches you where not to die again. The elephant does not erase, it carries. But it carries while walking. That is the difference between grief and captivity. Lesson 3. The witness. When a herd member dies, the others gather. The herd touches the body. The herd stands in silence. The herd makes sure no calf learns what death is without already knowing what love looks like. Lesson 4. The frequency. Elephants communicate through infrasound, vibrations below the threshold of human hearing, transmitted through the ground across miles. When a matriarch dies, Distant herds have shown signs of distress hours before any sound could reach them. Grief travels before the words do. What you are carrying right now, the part you cannot name yet, is already moving through the ground, already reaching something that knows how to receive it. Lesson 5. The ritual passed down. Young elephants that witness mourning do not need to be instructed. Researchers have documented calves as young as 2 years old, approaching the bones of elephants they never knew, strangers, and moving their trunks across them with the same deliberate slowness as the elders. The ritual was not explained, it was absorbed. In elephant culture, grief is not a private wound. It is a practice held collectively, passed forward so that no one has to invent mourning alone. Somewhere in the last few generations, humans forgot to pass this down. We stopped gathering around the body. We stopped teaching the young ones how to stand beside what cannot be recovered. We turned grief private and called it dignity. You were not built to figure this out alone. The elephant has known this for 5 million years. The elephant stands where love used to be. So do you. We are told that the natural world is nothing but an endless race for efficiency, a cold arithmetic of survival. Calories conserved, generations passed, nothing wasted on what no longer breathes. If that were the absolute truth, grief would be a catastrophic error. Why would the most powerful land animal on Earth spend hours standing over bones that cannot move? What survival advantage exists in returning season after season to a place where someone loved used to be? What does a creature gain by teaching its youngest to stand in silence before a death they never witnessed? It is not a glitch. It is a design, an animal that returns to bones across decades, that transmits mourning through the ground, that guides its youngest toward death so they are not destroyed by it. This animal was not assembled carelessly. Every behavior points toward a world where grief was anticipated, a world where love was always going to outlast the body of the beloved, and where something needed to be built to hold what remained. The pain you feel is the exact measurement of the value of what you held. If grief is written into the architecture of the largest-brained land animal on Earth, it is not a malfunction. It was always supposed to be here. The question is not why you still carry it. The question is, what kind of design expected that you would? Somewhere tonight an elephant is standing in the dark. She found her way back to the place. The bones are older now, bleached further, more scattered, more returned to the dust. She touches them anyway. Not because touching changes anything, not because the dead answer, but because the love that has nowhere left to go still needs somewhere to go. The next time grief visits, do not slam the door. Let it enter. Give it a chair. Do not let it drive your life. Do not let it rename you. Do not let it turn your heart into stone, but listen. The wound explains you. It does not own you. You are allowed to go back. You are allowed to stand still. You are allowed to carry what the world decided you should have put down by now. Somewhere in the old silence of the world, an elephant is touching bones with a gentleness that has no name in any human language, and it is not trapped there. It is saying goodbye slowly, then walking on.